"What's wrong with you?" is the most common response when a man ignores you. However, what if I told you that his lack of interest actually reveals more about his own shortcomings than any flaw in you? According to Carl Jung, our fears within ourselves are frequently reflected in the things we project onto other people. What makes a man decide to ignore you then? What's behind that seemingly icy demeanor that conceals something far more profound? What is he attempting to conceal from you, and possibly from himself as well? Like the female psyche, the male psyche is full of shadows or unconscious aspects that we find difficult to suppress. Jung referred to this aspect of our personalities that we are unwilling to acknowledge as the shadow. When a man ignores you, he might be unintentionally projecting his own fears, insecurities, or even an inability to confront his own inferiority complex. In actuality, his biggest flaw frequently resides right in what he makes the most effort to conceal. However, what causes a man to behave in this way? Is it pride, emotional detachment, or deep down, a fear that he might divulge something he would rather not? It's possible that his silence is a symptom of an internal conflict that even he is unaware of, rather than an indication of strength. Jung previously stated that your life will be guided by your unconscious until it becomes conscious, which you will refer to as fate. Could this man really be in charge, or has he just succumbed to his own shadows? Many women make the deadly error of viewing the silence as a barrier that must be overcome at this point. They make an effort to establish their value in order to get his attention and unravel this man's mystery. Jung, however, teaches us that integration, not frantic pursuit, is the source of true power. What happens if you stop responding to his silence and instead concentrate on the lessons you can learn about yourself? What happens when you see that a man's incapacity to handle his feelings for you is frequently his greatest weakness? This video will discuss the true meaning of a man ignoring you and how you can take advantage of his weakness. You are going to witness something that even he is unable to acknowledge. And once you realize it, his silence will never have an impact on you again. He knows you'll always be there, so he walks away and ignores you. He thinks he can come back at any time and find you exactly the same way he was before, available, focused, and just waiting for him to give you a quick look. What occurs, though, if that certainty vanishes? When he discovers that you are no longer the dependable woman he assumed you were, what will happen? According to Carl Jung, people's biggest delusion is thinking they have control over things they don't understand. In actuality, a man doesn't experience the effects of absence until he recognizes that the security he had before has given way to uncertainty. Ignoring or leaving you is not his weakness. It stems from his conviction that nothing will change and that you will always be there to stroke his ego. But something changes when you stop responding, when you stop being interested, when you stop giving him that constant attention he always took for granted. You stop being a supporting character in his narrative and turn into a mystery that is difficult for him to understand. He begins to get into conflict at this point because in Jung's view, people are afraid of the unknown. More than loss, doubt erodes. How many women make the mistake of attempting to attract a man who doesn't care about them? They check to see if he has seen their stories, post indirect messages, and make every effort to be present. All of this, however, only serves to strengthen his delusion that he is in control of you. You have nothing to prove. When you realize that your absence is more valuable than any frantic effort to get attention, the real game changes. A hole opens in his mind when he discovers that you no longer message him, respond to his posts, or try to get noticed. He no longer knows the woman he believed he knew. The first significant flaw in a man who ignores you is that he only feels in control while he thinks you are still available. He goes into a state of uncertainty when that belief is broken, which may cause him to do something he never would have thought to do. Wonder if he has lost something important. According to Jung, our rejection of others is a reflection of our own rejection of ourselves. A man frequently ignores a woman because he is unwilling to face the influence she has on him. What would happen, though, if he suddenly realized that he no longer had that effect? Let's go one step further now. Are you curious about the 5 most sensitive areas of a man who avoids you and withdraws? The ones that can cause even the most arrogant men to change their minds when they are moved? Then stick with me because what follows could totally alter your perspective on this game. He starts to feel uneasy when you leave his life. which wasn't the case before. You unknowingly give him a little dose of his own medicine when all of a sudden that presence that he took for granted is gone. He no longer feels in control of the silence, which now works against him. According to Carl Jung, the human psyche is a balance of opposites, and when one of them vanishes, the other one gets stronger. If he used to feel at ease disregarding you, now he starts to feel uncomfortable. He notices the space you occupied, and that emptiness starts to weigh on him. Absence has a strong effect. He soon begins to exhibit symptoms. You see that he read your stories, responded to a post, or made a subtly suggestive comment. He seems to be saying, "I'm still here." But what has changed? The distinction is that he no longer has the assurance that you will be accessible at all times. His greatest weakness now is the attention he got so easily, and the sense of importance he got from ignoring you. According to Jung, the human psyche, a man's mind seeks equilibrium, and it enters an alert state when a constant is gone. That's precisely what you've done to him. The sense of security a man gets from knowing you're waiting for him is his second weakness. Because it gives them a sense of control over the situation, men take advantage of women's insecurity. He feels free to ignore you if he can tell that you fear losing him, that you can't live without him, or that you don't think you'll find someone better. But as soon as you show otherwise, everything changes. Something goes wrong inside of him when you exude confidence and your energy shifts from one of scarcity to abundance. According to Jung, what we resist endures, and a man starts to experience uncertainty when he recognizes that he no longer has the control he once believed he had over you. When you build your self-esteem and quit chasing after scraps of attention, the game changes. You don't have to pursue anyone or prove anything. A woman who is aware of her own value and self-worth doesn't have to plead for attention. Instead, she becomes irresistible by refusing to put herself in a needy situation. At this point, you not only take back your authority, but also jeopardize his security. I want to ask you this before I go on to the third weakness of a man who ignores you. Have you ever been in a situation like this? He no longer feels confident that he can ignore you whenever he wants. And that's when he begins to wonder, what if she's no longer there when I want to come back? Have you ever had the impression that a man disregarded you because he knew there would be no repercussions? Please like this video now and let me know where you're viewing it in the comments if it's helpful. Don't leave just yet though, because I'll show you exactly how to teach a man who withdraws to appreciate you and even fear losing you at the end of this video. Stay with me then, because we're about to move on to the next vulnerability that has the potential to totally alter the outcome of this game. This is what separates a woman who is respected from one who is disregarded. The first is aware that receiving her attention is a gift rather than a duty. She doesn't beg, she doesn't chase, and she doesn't take less than she is due. A man is compelled to reevaluate his actions when he fears losing her. His need to regain acceptance replaces his desire for control. The important thing to remember is that you are no longer waiting for his approval. This change in perspective is what ultimately causes him to recognize your actual worth. You have evolved into the woman who decides who is worthy of being by her side. An even more crucial detail, though, is that you must act sincere if you want this impact to be genuine. Realizing that you never had to plead for someone's attention is more important than playing mind games or acting uninterested. The biggest mistake a woman can make is to live in the hope that one day a man will see her worth even if she doesn't. According to Jung, our acceptance of others reflects our acceptance of ourselves. You are sending a message to your subconscious that you are insufficient if you continue to invest in someone who doesn't invest in you and accept less than you deserve. It is necessary to dispel this notion. Now consider what occurs when a man comes to the realization that you can feel wonderful without him. Imagine his mental anguish when he realizes that he no longer has the control he believed he had. He experiences fear at that precise moment. Fear of losing you, fear of losing significance, and fear that he may have made the worst decision of his life. Life at which point you will have complete control. Before I give you my last piece of advice, I would like to know if you have ever observed this dynamic in your life. Ultimately, the most important question you must ask yourself is about you, not about him. You always deserved so much more, So why did you settle for so little? According to Carl Jung, we end up projecting what we don't confront within ourselves. Have you been preoccupied with the thoughts, feelings, and desires of a man who ignores you for too long? Then perhaps it's time to ask yourself, where is that same commitment to oneself? Did you ever put your value in his hands? Thinking that she must prove her value to someone who ought to be able to see it for himself is the biggest mistake a woman can make. Although the truth is difficult, it is also liberating. A man will never genuinely appreciate you if he believes he can ignore you without losing anything. And he won't ever be afraid of losing you if he thinks he can return at any time and still find you, without needing to prove himself. It is you who exemplifies to others how you should be treated. The limits of what you accept and what you don't are up to you. And perhaps it's time to totally alter this dynamic if you haven't felt appreciated up to this point. In reality, it's about how you view yourself, not about him. According to Jung, everything we draw in is a reflection of our inner selves. It's time to look within if you are consistently seeing men who pull away, ignore you, or don't give you the priority you deserve. When did you agree to this type of treatment? When did you realize that vying for someone's attention was necessary? Because a self-assured woman shines on her own and never has to plead for attention. The important thing to remember is that, despite his outward display of confidence, the man who ignores you today is actually terrified. Fearful of losing control, fearful of losing his place in your world, and fearful that he may have wasted the time of a remarkable woman. He will sense that change if you apply all you have learned here, if you develop emotional independence, if you boost your self-esteem, and if you never again settle for less than you deserve. He will then have to decide whether to value you, or to acknowledge that he never had as much control over you as he initially believed. But consider this. Do you really want someone who only values you when he fears losing you? Isn't it time to shift your viewpoint and realize that you deserve to be chosen by someone who doesn't require any games, tests, or proof? A woman with choices never gives up on a man who distances himself because she understands that genuine love eventually happens naturally and doesn't require coercion. And perhaps it's time, if you have to fight to be noticed, to put yourself first and quit fighting. Being the woman who never again needs to plead for attention is the goal of what you've learned here today, not merely making a man feel your absence. It's about learning to live her life without waiting for a sign, a message, or approval, because she understands that self-love is what really draws in everything valuable. That man who once believed he could ignore you suddenly finds himself desperate to regain what he lost because the world reacts to your change in energy. I want to ask you one last thing before I go. Would you rather remain in the same spot, waiting for a man to finally see your worth? Or would you prefer to be the woman who never has to worry about that again because she already knows exactly who she is? Both the solution and the decision lie within you. Because ultimately, your perception of yourself is what really gives you power, not the impact you have on other people. You will never again settle for less than you deserve after you realize this. If this video helped you think more clearly or gave you a fresh perspective, I now ask that you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so that you can continue to see more videos like this. Because you deserve a whole journey of transformation, and this is just the start, not just a video that makes you think. Naturally, if this content was helpful to you, please like it now. This helps other women who need to hear this know they are not alone, in addition to enabling me to keep bringing up subjects that genuinely have an impact. Please share your experience in the comments if you have ever encountered a similar circumstance. Let's discuss it. Finally, keep in mind that you have always held the power. All you had to do was recognize it. Now, without waiting, without questioning, without pleading for anything, go live the life you deserve. Because a woman who is aware of her value never needs to ask for what is rightfully hers. A man who pulls away and ignores you does so with the haughtiness of someone who thinks he is the center of the universe. He seems special, as though having him around is necessary for your happiness. Do you know why too? Because many women contribute to that illusion without even realizing it. They lose sight of other aspects of their lives that also require attention as they become engrossed in the relationship and devote all of their energy to him. When you devote all of your energy to a man who ignores you, you only serve to strengthen his perceived control over you, according to Carl Jung's theory that What we put our energy into grows. But what if he realized all of a sudden that you are interested in more than just him? That sense of exclusivity he thinks he has is the third weakness of a man who ignores you. You must weaken that emotion in order to end this cycle. His sense of superiority keeps him in his comfort zone, and the best way to overcome this is to improve your own relationships with your family, friends, and those who give you a sense of fulfillment and worth. By focusing all of your attention on this man who now ignores you, you may have unknowingly cut yourself off from those relationships. However, something significant occurs when you re-establish contact with those around you. Your life acquires fresh viewpoints and hues. You start to see that he has never been the sole source of your happiness and never will be. This does not imply that you must go out and find a new man to take his place. The goal is to broaden your perspective on the world, not to find someone else. Your presence becomes more captivating and you become more receptive to meeting new people and experiencing different settings when you fortify your social ties. And what happens to him at that point, do you know? The sense of irreplaceability starts to fade. According to Jung, people are afraid of losing control over the things they think they own. And when a man learns that he is no longer the center of the universe, he begins to experience the same feelings that he once caused you to experience. Uncertainty. His need to feel important to you is another serious weakness he unwittingly harbors. Many men give themselves a false sense of security by persuading themselves that a woman needs them financially or emotionally. However, something changes when you demonstrate to him that you don't need him and that you can choose who should be by your side instead of depending on him. You are no longer the needy woman he could disregard with no repercussions. He fears that if he wants to be a part of your life, he will have to demonstrate that he has something worthwhile to contribute. Since you become a self-sufficient woman who doesn't require anyone to feel whole, the game totally changes at this point. He can choose to ignore you, but as you develop, mature, and gain self-confidence and strength, he will no longer have the same influence over you. He understands that he is losing, not you. I want to know if you have ever observed this pattern in a relationship before I move on to the last piece of advice, which will teach you how to get a man who pulls away to value you and, even more, fear losing you. Tell me in the comments. If this video is enlightening you, please like it because what follows can drastically change how you handle this circumstance. We are now approaching the final piece of this puzzle, so stay with me. One of a man's greatest weaknesses and most sensitive areas is his sense of self-worth. Carl Jung claimed that a person's identity is constructed from the projections and reflections they receive from others, which is why he chooses to distance himself from you and ignore you. A man's ego gets a boost of self-esteem when he feels appreciated, wanted, and valued by a woman. What occurs, though, if that source of confirmation is cut off? What happens if you abruptly stop giving him your undivided attention? The foundation that was supporting his confidence just vanishes, leaving him exposed. The important reality here is that most men are unaware of the effect of a woman's presence until she starts to emotionally distance herself. You don't have to play pointless games or physically ignore him. The real effect occurs when you stop treating him like a unique individual, when you stop emphasizing his presence, and when he just becomes another person in your life. It has an inexplicable effect on his mental state. According to Jung, the human unconscious operates symbolically, and a man feels as though he is losing something important, even if he is unsure of what it is, when he notices that the woman who once elevated him no longer acts in the same way. A man's tendency to become accustomed to being admired and sought after without having to do anything to keep that status is one of his most potent weaknesses. However, something inside of him starts to shift the instant that validation vanishes. What was merely a source of comfort turns into a necessity, a gap he is unable to bridge. And that's the exact place where you need to be one step ahead. You just take that energy away from him and focus it on yourself, rather than pleading for his attention or attempting to establish your value. He realizes that he lost something he once took for granted when you transform into the woman who doesn't require him to feel wonderful. Applying the reciprocity principle is the key to strategically influencing his sense of self-worth. Relationships are mirrors, according to Jung, And if you constantly show him attention, admiration, and desire without getting the same in return, he won't ever feel the need to appreciate it. You must be certain that you are getting the same in return when you support his sense of self-worth and show him your love and trust. He will never fully understand your true worth if he thinks he can get everything from you with little effort, and that he deserves your commitment just by being there. And for that reason, a lot of women become frustrated because they put everything into the hope that one day, in an uncertain future, he will finally acknowledge and return the favor. However, you must make this adjustment right away. A self-aware woman never gives anything away for free. She is aware that balance is essential in a relationship. Before I give you the last piece of advice, which will teach you how to make a man who withdraws fear losing you and learn to appreciate you, I would like to know if you have ever been in a position where you felt that you gave more than you got in return. Tell me in the comments. Give this video a like if it's helping you see things more clearly, because what comes next could totally alter how you respond to this circumstance. Thus, stay with me as we approach the most crucial section. The big change occurs when you realize that a man's treatment of you directly reflects his view of his own worth in your life. He won't ever be scared of losing you if he believes he can ignore you and you'll still be there, available, and waiting for a scrap of attention. According to Carl Jung, humans have an innate desire to push other people to the edge in order to determine how far they can go without suffering repercussions. Without even recognizing it, a lot of men engage in this behavior in relationships. Since they are aware that the woman will always be there, they withdraw, ignore, and behave indifferently. But what if that assurance vanished out of thin air? His ego has a crisis when you stop providing free affirmation and rob him of the security he once experienced. He could easily have had your attention, and he had grown accustomed to the notion that it was guaranteed. He may have never experienced insecurity before, though, when he learns that he must work to regain it. According to Jung, the human psyche is drawn to consistency and patterns, so when a woman behaves in an unexpected way, a man who believed he had control starts to feel very uneasy. He understands that the rules have changed and that he now has to prove himself to you.